Hey, it's Sol, bringing you the World of Warcraft, and today I wanted to just talk about the Q&A that just happened with Josh Allen, aka Lore, and Ion Hazzikostas. There's a lot that I could talk about regarding the most recent build, and I'm talking about artifacts and legendaries, but I'm going to save that for the news Friday. I just wanted to get this Q&A out of the way because I have some thoughts and reactions to that that I kind of want to share here in this space here. I said here twice, good going. First things first, the Q&A, I'm looking at more and more, and it's thanks to Ion just kind of going off the rails and talking about his own thing. He took one of the more embattled systems of Legion, and we're talking about artifact power as well as legendaries and Titanforge, all the RNG stuff. And I guess he kept carrying on with the thought, with placing some blame on the leaders of high-end guilds. And I lend some credence to his statement, not just as the director of the World of Warcraft, but he's actually one of the few players with the coveted Scarab Lord title. This is back in classic WoW. But as impressive as these credentials are, at the same time, as director, he did kind of design, or probably had some help designing, or at least wrote off these kinds of systems that are in place right now. Systems that a lot of folks don't agree with on the higher band of PvE rating and so on. So I'm not too surprised that I agree with him with regards to the social pressure that's being applied, from the Mythic leadership down to its members, and how that causes a sort of perception to like everyone else who's reading forums and looking at MMO Champion and Wowhead and what have you, and seeing these kinds of complaints going around. I stated earlier in that that hardcore versus casual trying to understand it video that I did the other day. At the very top of, well, in this case, rating, people are going to push systems to their absolute limit, whether there is a system of unlimitedness like there is now with artifact power and Titanforge and whatever, or if there were limited attempts, just as Ian was talking about. When these top-end guilds knew that there were limited attempts, what did they do? They rolled alts and used those alts to practice, and then they did the real stuff with their mains, and fuck, dude. Now, of course, those days are over, but now we have kind of a different paradigm with regards to what sort of self-control does Blizzard empower us with. There are very real and obvious problems with the artifact power system and like all this RNG stuff, because it gives nearly all control to the player. The only limits that are there come in the form of like artifact knowledge and diminishing returns, which is kind of sort of designed to discourage you from playing so much. But it's also counteracted by the RNG and the endless possibility of, hey, maybe I can get like the super best shit ever. I just gotta keep going. And from the looks of it, players are more inclined, when they're stuck in this sort of behavior of having to keep grinding, their goal for the most part is trying to get those legendaries or those Titanforge. At least with artifact power, even though they're going at a total crawl, at least they're still kind of inching towards that finish line where, whereas with Titanforge legendaries, they're not. Anyway, I talked about that for way too long. I was just really fascinated by Ian's like acknowledgement and admission of just how rough it is for Mythic guilds, but the fact that we're still going through with the system as it is. It'll be interesting to see later in later expansions when we see what sort of lessons has Blizzard learned this time, and what kind of crap are we going to complain about next. Someone brought up tank trinkets. Thank God someone brought up tank trinkets, because in my opinion, I'm in agreement with the person that asked the question. Basically, they said that, hey, tank trinkets are boring, what are you going to do about it? And I agree, they don't quite do it for me. I think the only really enticing one might be the Gul'dan trinket, which is an on use, and it seems nice. And right now I'm still using Emerald Nightmare trinkets, but preferably if I can get like some really cool, a really good stat stick as a trinket, I'd probably just rock that. And to be honest, because tanks are so role specific, and I guess healers to their own extent, I think it'd be cool if tank trinkets were like specific to that class, like something along the lines of the Archimon class trinkets, but just for tanks. I know it's kind of greedy, right? But still, I think it would help. But it kind of goes along to another question that someone had with regards to the tier bonuses being kind of boring. Admittedly, it would be kind of a pain in the butt to keep designing trinket after trinket that is super class and spec specific or role specific. I'm sorry, just because I'm acting all special snowflake about it. I'm just hoping that it's as Ian says, that for the Tumor Sargeras raid, they're looking at all trinkets, including tank trinkets, and hopefully they'll have something really cool in store for us. All right, so I talked briefly about tier and how someone said that the tier bonus was sucking, and then Laura and Ian said, oh no, it's gonna get better, it's just a placeholder. But then they went on for like a while with regards to data mined information and just how the community reacts to that kind of stuff and gives feedback. And meanwhile, Blizzard is like, oh, that's hardly what we wanted to do in the first place. We are not doing that at all. And it's a constant point of confusion or frustration. For me, it bothers me because I look at stuff, I'll look at like MMO Chain, I'll look at the news, I'll see what the community is reacting to, and I see so many instances where they're reacting to stuff that's not even testable, a couple of lines of text, and I'm guilty of it too, by the way. I'm not gonna write myself off or pretend I'm not part of it too. But it sucks. It's a waste of brain power in part of the vocal community. They're fighting over this stuff, and Blizzard's like, well, we're not doing this stuff anyway. But people are giving input or threatening to quit the game, and overall, it's just non-productive conversation that's taking place. Like, I know that people are dissatisfied with Blizzard's statements on, hey, we're going to improve developer communication and things like that, and people aren't really seeing it. But I think one thing that I would like to see more of is, if they see like a thread on their forums or a big conversation going on, I think they just need to do a much better job of stamping those out. Have a blue poster come right in and be like, hey, stop talking, everyone shut up. This information, it's not even testable yet. We definitely do not suggest you guys talk about this anymore because it's totally subject to change. And okay, maybe they shouldn't lock the thread. I think the discussion should continue because something cool might come out of it. But I think they just need to come in and make those kinds of statements much faster than they are now. It'll help keep the community in line, as much as people try to say it, as much as YouTubers such as myself try to say, hey, this is not all subject to change and blah blah blah. A lot of people still react to it anyway, which is understandable. If Blizzard came in and did the same thing, and much more aggressively, I think it would curb a lot of the negative behavior that's going on. Not all of it, obviously. He talked about artifact power, and he basically underlined the fact that it's a very embattled system. There's a lot of folks that disagree with it. There's a lot of folks that do agree with it. I, for one, do, because I don't grind for it that hard. I'm still not at rank 54, which is like so shameful. Shame, dong. But it's a very real problem for a number of players, and I get that. Ian once again had to talk down the idea of having artifact power being shared across a character or across an account, or whatever it is that players are asking for. Kind of makes sense to me because, let's say for example, if I never got my holy weapon and one day I did, and it's almost the end of the expansion, should I be able to just kind of switch to holy and then boom, it's at rank 100 or whatever the hell it's going to be, with everything maxed out? I am of the opinion of no. If anything, by that time I'll just use like one token and I'll probably have damn near every trait unlocked except for like maybe the last couple of ones. It really won't be a big deal. And as far as I'm concerned regarding the final trait, it's a trinket that everyone's eventually going to get, and that's pretty much it. You can refer to it in whatever derogatory way that you want, but if that final trait was like a super awesome scaling trait, like it is right now, there'd be a whole bunch of bitching anyway. In fact, no matter what it was, if you got like free wild time as your final trait, people will complain about it. So far I'm pretty pleased, I'm okay with the way that relics are going to turn out in 7.2. If you didn't know already, and apparently Lore didn't quite know, once you've completed the extra research upgrades on your order hall, any relic that drops in the Broken Isles is going to have a second trait on it. What we did learn, or at least I learned, is that second trait, this bonus trait, it's always going to be what Ian called a throughput trait. So in the case of DPS, it's going to be something that's going to up some sort of primary damaging ability. For healers, it's going to, do something to increase their throughput. But what about tanks? Like, would it be damage? Because for some tanks, damage is more important than for others. Is it a stamina-based trait? I know Pallies have a stamina trait, which is which sucks anyway. So I know I still wouldn't like that. Is it going to be one of our mitigating values, which in my case is going to be block? I guess that would be okay. And we haven't seen it yet, so I guess we'll just have to see. So I think that wraps about all the good stuff that came out of the Q&A. I think we've got some useful information out there, but for some of the more controversial systems that are going out, I don't think that would have been able to be covered in just a Q&A. That's going to be an ongoing thing going on in like the forums and other places of discussion. A lot of folks still have stuff to complain about, and I encourage doing it. Complain. Like, really, if you have something to say, and if you can at the very least be somewhat civil about it, and at least make your grievances clear and concise and, well, I guess to the point. Those things help. It's input. Or even better yet, if you can get in a discussion. And of course, I invite all of you guys to discuss everything in the comments below. I'd love to talk with you guys. Feel free. I think it's important that we all get some understanding with each other with regards to our thoughts and opinions on game design and how things should be implemented and how we want to make WoW an awesome game for us. So that's the word. I know the quality isn't all there and not a big deal. I just kind of wanted to get this out there. But I'll see you guys for the news. So you guys take care and stay breezy. Stay breezy, dude.